Once they're done.
Lane's there. But she's not coming.
So we're gonna talk about that, but,
That's being brought to executive finance on the 23rd.
yep, very, very exciting. So, but anyways, I brought the handouts from our consultant.
Because I know that was on our agenda for tonight.
So, yeah, right a second.
I knew it was
Talk
on
about
the
that.
agenda, but I didn't know it was gonna be exciting. I'm now getting prepared.
I was in the back.
For some
Trying to
exciting.
get out candy from the back
I'll
here.
go to that.
I am.
Last time they were.
Jet, I think we're-
Said it's a fun.
That's my daughter.
Okay. All of them are
Super.
7 years old at least. Oh, and they're tiny. and they-
Right, you.
Oh.
I'm really kind of tiny.
Which I regretted. By the end of it, it got so warm.
Too many that are.
Hmm?
There's too many in the.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they know, but when the next 10 years, they have that one. And they're, when it comes to the Richland Corporation, they've been given money for 40 years, town school district over there. And they also support, so they don't support anything, only they give money to the library and the church down there too. So. Okay, so nice.
Yep, Mark is it.
We're getting close.
Now, you know, if you tell all the guys that you have this,
Yeah,
if they work with women on Pine Valley, you might get somebody that's want to come up with one.
I hope it works like that.
Just a quick update. Marissa Johnson Black, will not join us tonight.
Okay.
And Autumn.
Okay. A lot of interesting data. I did, I was just, I was in the Election Center and did that.
Did you go to Madison?
I did.
Oh. We were down in Stoughton and
Okay.
it couldn't be here.
Always, used to Madison. Yeah, but it was nice here. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We are ready for the Pine Valley Committee meeting here. Up to order. Okay, and you want to give us a roll call, Mary?
Sure can. Mark Cooey,
Here.
Gary Manning. Mark Gill,
Here.
Barry Miller,
Here?
Pat Ripson,
Here.
Sandra Kramer.
Here.
We have a quorum. Terrific. We need to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Sandy and Mary seconded, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have approved the agenda and then the minutes. Has anybody got corrections, additions, anything that you saw on there that was, need to be updated? Great, we can just approve them as written. And public comment, do we have anyone from the public that would like to comment either online or in person? Okay, not hearing anything, we will move on to the audit results presented by Marissa Powers, PA, audit supervisor for Johnson Block CPAs.
Marissa will not be here today. She's
Okay.
feeling under the weather.
Oh, that's too bad. It looks like it was a good audit, I guess, from what I observed. So you want to give us a report then, Reggie, or is it Mary or somebody want to give us the details?
Marissa is actually planning on joining us next meeting to give this report out.
Oh, okay, well, we can certainly wait until the next meeting to hear that about the audit results, but I mean, looking at the data.
Yep.
There's not any major finding, I guess,
No, I think-
the two little things that listed, I was curious, and maybe you can address this. Brittany, where it said something like, there would, what did it say? It said, we have commented on the following matters: material weakness, then material adjusting journal entries. That's on the bottom of page 2. Then the second was significant deficiency, segregation of duties. I'm just not clear what that was reference. Maybe I hope somebody could explain that.
Was the material adjusting, was that due to any incorrections on kind of like the reports that we were sent over or missing information?
It was reclassifying, we had it with you last week, our last meeting. It was reclassifying some journal entries.
So that
So
could be the material.
And we can wait, it's not like a big
Yeah.
deal, I just like, what does that mean? And,
Yeah, it's the adjustment of journal. So when you change it from one
Okay.
PL code to another.
so we made an adjustment of how our,
Yeah.
we're recorded, basically, counting. Okay, okay.
And then for the segregation of duties, I'm not 100% sure. This is all in 2024, so I'd have to dig a little bit deeper on that aspect.
Well, and, she's gonna be here next month, so we can certainly, I just thought if it was like a real, obvious, answer, we could, just curious. Okay, we'll just wait for that for next month. And, well, let's do our census recap.
So that pulled, we made it over 70. So we are at 71 with one in the hospital, so we will be at 72.
Wow,
So we are maintaining those highs, 69 to 70. So that's kind of where we want to be at maximum. I'd like to see around 75, without having to increase, staffing at this time. CBRF, we are at 16 now, so we did get an admission, so we are full there and almost full on our SNF side.
great.
So we are doing fantastic. So average says that we had about 67, but this coming up month in June, we should be managed kind of around that 69 to 70 range.
Great, great. Good to see our census up. Okay, I guess we're ready for the financials. Mary, you want to take that?
Sure.
So in the packet, the balance sheet and statement of operations are included. Agenda item 7B is the accounts receivable trend report. The day's revenue in AR is 40.80. As we repeat every month, our goal is to be below 40. In speaking with Haley, April's Medicare aid payments weren't received in May. But we did receive notifications from that the monies are available to be posted in our June financials. So that amount is $113,858.17. So had that been received in May, the day's revenue in AR would have been 36.79. Agenda item 7C is the cash flow depiction. Receipts for May were $871,312.22, with expenses being $853,248.38. We did have the Easter holiday, as well as the second installment for the liability. Agenda item 7D are the vouchers. Here's the voucher summary page. I'd like to review with you the following vouchers. Check number 275. Spent within the amount of $1,094.55. And that was issued to Walmart. And the items purchased were cleaning supplies, resident recreational supplies, and non-billable nursing. Check number 328 in the amount of $7,391.96 was our credit card statement I'll go over a few of those charges. $100 was for the CBRF readiness training, CBRF survey readiness training. $455 is for computer service subscription through AHT. $4,200 was for medication key courses for staff. $97.25 was for a skills exam for one staff. $50 was for a workshop for dietary staff. $160 was medication admin class for one staff. We had $107.47, and that was for the license plate renewal for our van. $185.99 was for a dryer pulley. And then $591.01 was for employee appreciation gifts, and $97.63 for Pizza Hut. And that was for a staff pizza party to celebrate their week. So those are some charges that make up the credit card amount. Moving on to voucher number 329 in the amount of $8,839.85. And that was to Clipboard Health. And again, those are wages for contracted CNAs and RNs. Then check number 345 in the amount of $12,562.84. Again, to Clipboard Health, and that's for wages for contracted CNAs and RNs. Check number 351 in the amount of $34,461.75 was to Braintree Medical Staffing, and that is wages for contracted CNAs, personal care workers, and check number 353 in the amount of $1,300 was to JT and Associates, and that was for our Medicare cost report preparation. Check number 355 in the amount of $822.46 was to Lang Medical for bed and floor alarms. And then we have check number 373, and that is in the amount of $2,500, and that was to Brian Shamick, and that was for Medicaid cost report consulting fee.
Okay,
So these are the vouchers that are being presented for the month of May that we're asking for your approval.
any questions on the vouchers?
This 34,000 you said is for, it's on, 020, let's see.
That's for the
350.
grape tree, is that what you're?
Yeah, the great,
Yep, that's that's an agency that we use for RNs, LPNs.
yeah, is that one month? 35,000? I thought maybe you carried some overs.
I wish,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Lost some personnel, and that's price to pay then, fortunately. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that in our next report. So we need a motion to approve the vouchers.
I make that motion.
And Pat seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are approved, and then our final report here.
Agenda item 7E is the review of aged accounts. The table reflects the balances and account activity through May 2025. Any account activity after May 31st is noted in the blue font in the notes column. And then, of course, anything in the blue font will be noted in the June financials. I also want to note that on line 3, an additional payment of $1,200 was received, and this too will be reflected in the June financials.
And our two liens that are highlighted, those are, we're just working through the system basically.
Yes, and there's one on here that we've actually spoke to a contact of mine in Medicaid, and we just have to have some very difficult conversations with the patient themselves.
Oh, boy.
So that should help resolve things they just own a home and they've been in the nursing home forever, so. Medicaid doesn't agree with that, so they stopped allowing her to pay bills at her home because she's been here for more than 6 months. She's actually been here for years. So we have to have that very difficult conversation
Oh,
with
it's
patient.
really sad. And so, how old is she?
That I don't have off the top of my head.
Okay, well, great. Thanks so much, Mary. And, Brittany now with the administrative report.
So we had our annual, back at the end of May. They exited, I have both life safety, SODs and, the nursing. So we actually did not do bad. No IJs, no heavy citations. They were small citations, all B level. One was an F level, but essentially not bad at all. First one we received for self-admin, just leaving medications at bedside for patients who are not able to self-admin medications, and not realizing that it's just something that they've always done. So we've corrected that, gotten everybody an assessment. We're actually in compliance already. We've done the desk review, they've received everything, we're good. Second one. They write a lot. Gives us a lot of pages. All right, a background check. So 2023 background checks have gone MIA. It's the only year we do not have. So anybody who was hired in 2019 or 2023, those were all in a binder. Those were all ran. However, a previous administrator of sorts may have threw them away. Because we have 2017, 2018, 2019, or not 2019, well, the old ones, but all of them except for 2023. That was quite interesting. So we've got all of 2023s and 2019s already ran. We're in compliance with those. And obviously we've created a binder and a location for those.
Was that discovered during the audit then, or? Was it audit finding? Okay.
Yep. Next one. Free of medication errors. So survey likes to watch us past months, our staff members. They check for times, they check for orders, they check for all these things. Our staff did really good, except for some of the medications were late to patients by like 20 minutes for our medication administration times. So technically we were over the 5% allowed. And we got that citation. It's a level D, it's not bad. But what all did you do?
So I audited all of the residents on the skilled side, and anybody who prefers to get up a little bit later. We moved their medications to 8:30 in the morning because you have 1 hour before and 1 hour after to administer medications. So that gave them a little bit longer. And then I also moved, so some residents get medications for like GERD and things like that need to be given before they eat. So we actually moved some of those to 5:30 in the morning, and night shift is helping with that, which has helped a lot because the nurses would have to stop, go past the early ones, and then go back to what they were doing. And so that's been extremely helpful. And the audits the last couple of days since we started, the 5:30 has been pretty much zero. So.
Yeah, and so when she's auditing, she's checking for the EMAR to determine times that were administered, and when she reviewed those and we looked at those, with maybe one patient that was on that error, which would have been like 5-10 minutes late. So we're just trying to clean that up, figure out what's going on. And sometimes things just come up. But usually we just call the physician, just let them know. Label store, drugs and biologicals. A Miralax bottle was left on top of the med cart, and a nursing staff was not around it. So we got it for basically leaving that on top. So we have an audit and just, we're checking to make sure we've done all staff. So F8112 is always your dietary, so they only got two very small things. They did a fantastic job. It is all encompassing, it's called food procurement, safety, sanitary, blah, 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 it's all encompassing. So all they did was they found a box in the storage from the night before. They were all closed, all the boxes were closed, and the next day they were opened, but they forgot to date them. So they seen it and they said that's a no-no, obviously. And then the dishwasher down on the 200 wing had 4 days where it was temping under the allotted time. And because they wrote it down and obviously put it on there, they just didn't say what they did to correct it to get up to temp. So we did get it for sanitary reasons. And then F880, which is infection prevention, the poor LPN that they watched during wound care was extremely nervous, pretty much forgot some steps, which was hand hygiene, you know, like the sanitizing in between. She would change gloves without sanitizing. She was just extremely nervous. The state surveyor did not want to give us that site, but obviously she witnessed it, she had to. As for life safety, just making sure, one of them was for policies, just making sure we had created a policy for our top 5 hazard vulnerability assessments. And the snow blizzard hazard was not in there. So we had to create that policy. And then the communication method. So they did not have binders put together, which had face sheets and medication list in there. So in the event of emergency, we need to evacuate. How are we going to communicate their needs, their contacts, their physician? So we created binders, and that's already corrected, and we updated the emergency plan policy and procedure to reflect that. So next was doors with self-closing devices, which is those automatic doors that shut. The activities rooms came off the hinge of some sort. He's seen it, he's excited. So technically in his mind, it wasn't put together entirely.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, some ticky-tack stuff. It's like,
And he's very thorough. Yeah. Emergency lighting. So we have obviously emergency lighting that tells you where the exits and stuff are. Testing the battery. So we have to do once a week, 30 seconds, and then annually we have to do a 90-minute load test. That was not done. So we did that, corrected that, and then created forms for maintenance to utilize when testing that. Fire alarm system. There was some lot. So we have Omni Technologies, and they use like this green Loctite string when they screwed up in sprinkler heads. And so when they test the smoke alarms and do all that, the heat with them, it must have loosened that and it kind of dangled down from one sprinkler head. So we got it for the debris on there. And then in the kitchen, in the freezer had a icicle on it. So that was a debris. We got a citation for that. Sprinkler test system. So with Omni Technologies, they only signed a contract for annual testing, just one annual test. So we were missing semi-annual testing from that, which is a requirement. I signed a contract with Ahern to do that semi-annual. They're coming out, what is today, in 4 days to do the semi-annual requirement. And looking to potentially change all of our fire systems. I don't know why it's split up between 2 companies directly over just to Ahern alone. So hopefully looking to do that in the very near future. Testing of doors, annual testing, inspection of fire doors, essentially maintenance. We had to have the fire chief come out because he's a qualified person. So fire chief had come out and essentially look at our doors, make sure they were installed correctly, no holes, no damage to the doors, everything was good, and they had the fire rating on it. Now that he's come out, our maintenance staff can look at them. So he came out and did that already, and that's been corrected. And then somebody decided to put non-medical grade outlets in the building when it was built, in certain areas. So, in our clean utility rooms where laundry is done and cleaned, we have our lift plugs, like where our batteries sit. And because they're medical equipment, they have to go into green dot. Well, somehow, some reason, all that area in that resident area, none of them are green dot. So we ordered 111 green dot outlets, and Chad has replaced the ones down on the wings, and it was on every single wing.
Is that just a grounded outlet is what a green dot outlet would be?
Grounded, and it's medical or medical devices.
And how is that different than?
That I could not tell you. I am far from maintenance.
Actually,
It might be in it might be in this.
okay, well,
There's like several pages of this. But yes, he's very, our receptacles have to have at least one separate highly dependable ground pole capable of maintaining low contact resistance with its mating plug. In pediatric locations, receptacles in patient rooms, bathrooms, playrooms, activities, blah, 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 are listed tamper resistant or employ a listed cover. If you use the patient care room, grounded fault circuit interrupters, GCFI.
thank you.
So there, that is our state survey. So it was not bad. It was an easy plan of correction. We are in compliance.
And some good suggestions, and sounds like came out of that besides the icicle in the freezer.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't bad, and I always take state and like I tell everybody that I work with, state's an opportunity for learning. It's really hard to learn all the citations and kind of those things that they expect you to look at without kind of being caught, I guess you could say. I don't recommend reading the 914-page manual like I did, but you learn. And there's some things that you don't, you look at a CMS that state does even more. So you're not sure what state's looking for, like your Wisconsin state versus, the basics, which federal regs state. So state kind of piggybacks and says, no, this is the basics, and here's what we really want you to do to satisfy that reg. So sometimes we do it based off of the basics, which is the federal regs, and they're like, no. So that's kind of where we are. On the 23rd, we are going in to executive finance for our pharmacy. We have all the bids. So hopefully we'll be able to walk away with a pharmacy. All of them are pretty good pricing. There are some that are going to be able to meet our needs, and we anticipated that, or we would know that's not happening. So we have a couple ideas in our mind and kind of what we think would work well. And I think we've kind of narrowed it down to the one that is the best pricing and offers the more for the bank. And it's kind of within that same. And then water project. So Mark was able to come join us on all of that lovely
So much fun.
stuff. And again, Bart will be here on the 23rd to go over the water.
If you want to see the handout that they made for us, they had 5 different possibilities on how we could upgrade our water system. And just quickly, we took one of theirs and adjusted it, and we're gonna put the reservoir right by Pine Valley rather than have
Be
it.
able to cut the cost a little bit
Yeah.
of the piping that is needed from the building to the reservoir, and essentially cut the cost by a little bit, but we are choosing option 4, I believe it is.
Let's see, new 70,000 gallon capacity short elevated storage tank.
Yep.
I think it was 5 concrete capacity above ground reservoir. I think it was
Was
5.
it option 5? Here,
Oh,
oh,
it was 5, yeah.
I don't have my sheet. Oh, yep, it was option 5, the new 70-gallon capacity concrete above ground
So this
reservoir.
is gonna be a huge project. The build is gonna take all summer. It's gonna be this huge concrete reservoir. So it's still be a big thing, but,
Well, who's doing this?
It'll probably be on the back side of the building, just kind of bring it closer, so there's less piping that has to go from the reservoir to the building. Then that's supposed to help with the increased water pressure, longer lasting, because our reservoir is kind of at its last leg here.
and there's all complications with every system that you do, because you gotta paint some, and you gotta have others inspect it. It was really complicated. So it was, Trish and Brittany and Chad and I, who were Bart from Delta. And this seemed like, we all kind of agreed this was the
Yeah, there's no painting that's needed, there's no like real heavy maintenance that is needed with this. Be really expensive to connect to city water, and then we run the risk of, any type of construction in town that we could, potentially be at risk for Legionellas. And that's a huge, concern for elderly patients, because it can cause Legionellas. Basically, it's like a pneumonia. It's pretty nasty. So every time, no matter where at in Richland Center, we would have to increase Legionella testing. So that's really expensive on its own.
You said that city water out there?
No, we don't. We have a water.
And it compares the 5 different ideas, and then city water was really expensive for.
Yeah, but it's really expensive.
And then there was 2 different proposals with different sized pipes and things, so it was
Then having to
complicated.
work with the city water to work out, like, they want the 12-inch where the requirement is only needed for 8. So if they wanted to bring the 12, it was Bart was talking about, like paying the difference, like the city could pay the difference, that we would only need to pay for the 8, but it's too much of a mess to try to figure out all of that when, well, it's fine the way it is, it's just creating what is needed to make it safe and with the PC, what is PSI or what did you call it?
The PSI is the pressure, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Getting-
it's gonna be built up a little bit of a hill so that it's gravity flows, so. But yeah, it's super complicated. We're gonna be talking to the executive finance committee on Monday, so.
You can get grants that'll help pay for majority of it. So he can do all the grant writing, or we can work on with everything that's coming up, help pay for it, but we'd be looking at about a 3-year wait.
It's a long-term project, so. And what about that solar? Did we ever do that? Remember we had short
I
term?
signed off on that, so he had sent over the quote that I
Okay.
signed off on,
So
yeah,
there was some issues right now with the
back up.
reservoir. It didn't, there was a pump or whatever, and it doesn't work sometimes or whatever, and things like that. So, so we, instead of having these expensive batteries, we wanted to put a solar panel in, or a couple panels, and it's gonna be run off of that. That's gonna cost, was it 5,500, Brittany? I think it was something like that.
No, 49.85, I think it was what I signed off on.
On sales.
Yeah, so it wasn't, he said it might be a little bit higher because it was actually technically good for, I think like 14 days or so.
Okay. So that's gonna improve our performance right away, the short term, and then in the long term. Hopefully, we're gonna get a bunch of grants to pay for most of this. And that's what Bart said, so.
And he's a really good grant writer, is what he
Yes.
said too, really good, he works with other counties and writes grants for them for things, so. He would do all the grant writing and everything that we need, so even if we can get like 70% of the cost off, that would be a huge relief.
Any other questions about the water project or anything else? Well, I think that,
Can I do a question? Going back to the help you have to hire, how many are actually working out there? On the, what do they call this?
the contract.
The contract
employees,
nurses, yeah.
We
We have no Braintree nurses right now.
Yep.
They are gone. And I believe we have one, one PCW, one CNA, I believe. So yeah, it'll come down considerably.
So
Next
May,
month it should be
so
down.
May was the big
Grade
one.
3 will be, but I mean, we did lose a couple more nurses.
We did, so we've been utilizing clipboard a little bit more. I was just talking about that 34 one. But we have been utilizing clipboard a little bit more for our nurses. So
How
we have
how you rate-
5 right now that have been kind of rotating through, picking up a day here.
Full-time hours. So that's gonna be a significant increase, no matter where we look at it. We, like I said, we did lose 3 nursing staff of sorts, yeah, because it was one person.
At least 3, yeah.
And I know we had a question about the exit interviews last time. Did we-
Yeah, they're being conducted. We're
Okay.
very much aware. One of them, lives in Boston, so that's a 2-hour drive. We had one that took a job at the hospital, more money. And then, what's the other one?
We had another one that left because there was more work missing.
But I did get the job descriptions, I've looked at every single one of them. I handed them off to Trish. I'm assuming we'll probably touch base on Thursday. I'm hoping when we have a department head meeting,
Yeah.
kind of ask questions of next steps. Just because,
So we're posting these openings basically, and are we getting much applications? Wow.
but I mean, the wages, we didn't increase our wages.
Sure.
New hires start even lower than what last year. So,
Yeah, I don't understand that. That just makes no sense.
yeah, and trying to fix that.
Yeah.
But it's a process. Like I said, went through, there was a lot missing on the job descriptions, and a lot. I had several pages to add into each job description, so that might have played a huge role into why things kind of shrunk down, or maybe they try to compact, certain job duties in, and it just doesn't work.
Well, if you don't have enough nurses, it's gonna be hard to pass all those really requirements, everybody because I know how you can run around out there. Trying to get everybody, give their meds and stuff and be with them in that without help. Nursing home. So it's not an easy thing.
Any other questions? Mark online? Ready?
No, I'm good.
Okay, well, great, then we need a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion, adjourn.
Seconds.
Sandy seconded, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Don't forget, Donkey visited Pine Valley this
What
Friday.
is that now? It's a doggies,
Why weren't you on?
This, this Friday.
Friday?
Yeah, don't forget
And what's-
barbecue chicken on Sunday.
So we got donkeys on Friday and chicken on Sunday?
Yep.
Would you rather have donkeys or chicken?
Oh,
Oh,
should bring the donkeys on.
The same might get us some people.
We'll stand at the end,
donkeys don't eat chicken.
put some balloons on the donkeys.
Not any donkey I've ever.
No, I.
I've